everyone, it's Tiny Games here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm happy to have you here today with my tips to win big in Dreamsnaps. So I have actually done a video like this before, but it was specifically related to the Rainbows Dreamsnap challenge. So that pretty much shows how long ago it was that I've done one of these videos. So I thought I'd do a more generic video rather than something that's tied to a specific channel, just to help you guys out. Now obviously I can't guarantee you all 4K Moonstones, but if there's ways that I can kind of help you guys increase the amount of Moonstones you got, like that you get and stuff like that, I would be very happy, because I see a lot of submissions that do well and I know they could do better and other things like that. Anyway, I just want to pass on this information of what I use, which helps me out. Now I'm not going to say I am perfect at Dreamsnaps. I am not. I would say I have more 4K weeks than I have non-4K weeks. So I would like to think I'm fairly good at this Dreamsnaps malarkey. But I know there's ways I could certainly improve and things like that. But this is my kind of like foolproof method that I guess I use. So let's get into the first tip, which I want to say is just have fun and create what you want to create. Now that might seem a bit counterintuitive, but there is an element of luck with Dreamsnaps. You don't know what your photo is going to be paired up against. You don't know how the people on the other side are going to vote. You know, people set their own terms for voting. I've heard things like people say, oh, I won't vote for this submission if there's premium shop items, or I've heard people, you know, say things like, oh, I won't vote for this if there's that. And you know, people have their own, like, what they determine as rules for Dreamsnaps. You know, people go, oh, if I see the pink cloud filter, I'm not voting for it and stuff like that. So you don't know who's going to be voting on your picture, so you cannot control that. So ultimately, just make something that you're going to be happy with, something that you have fun creating, and something that you are going to be proud of. Now, the next tip that I want to talk about is breaking down the 3 aspects of a Dreamsnap. So there's 3 things that you need to consider, which is the foreground, the subject, and the background. So let's take into account the current Mickey and Friends challenge. Now, I could snap a picture right now and submit this to Dreamsnaps, but this is not going to win me 4,000 Dreamsnaps by any stretch of the imagination, because there's no effort in the background, there's no effort in the foreground, despite the fact that my character, my subject, is wearing Mickey and Friends themed items, so therefore I'm on track for what the challenge is. It's not a full picture. So you need to think about, when you're creating your picture, to try framing the photo. So why don't we actually practically go into the menu, I guess you could say, into the furniture menu and pull out some items which might be useful and things like that. So I'm actually going to pull over. Right, there's Minnie's house. We can put her down here. We can get some lighting too. We can go with just regular lamps, and then also maybe a quirky lamp, and maybe a pink lamp. Okay, so let's take this as the basis for my Dreamsnap. I'm probably going to want to move some floral elements here to act as the foreground. We've got Minnie's house here, which works as like a background item for the dream snap as well. We can obviously, like, this is very minor, like this is not decorated to the extent of what I would decorate like, not in any sense at all, but just to give you kind of like a basic rundown. So we had that plain photo before, and now I can stand here like this. Let's all go into free camera mode actually, because it might be a bit better. Here we go. Now, if I take a photo like this is going to look a million times better than when I was just posed in the middle of nowhere with absolutely nothing around me. So we have elements in the foreground here. We have these flowers popping up which frame the photo in a nice way. Actually, the little squirrel companion here has done a great touch adding to the photo. And then we've got the background with Minnie's house, which ties into the Mickey and Friends theme. Like I said, I put this all down in like, what, 2 minutes was that you seen there? This obviously isn't anything that I would submit fully as a dream snap, but you can see the difference between this compared to when I was taking a photo just of myself, with no kind of backdrop and things like that. So you do want to focus on those three aspects: the foreground, the subject, and the background. Now, the subject doesn't have to be yourself necessarily. It could be a valley villager. Like, for instance, in this challenge, in my Dream Snaps photo, I've actually used Mickey and Minnie, so they are part of the subject with me. And I would say, depending on the theme, usually try to place these centrally or as some form of focus for the image. And then obviously we've got the surroundings of our photo with the foreground. Another thing to think about in terms of backgrounds, because you don't necessarily have to fill the backgrounds with lots of items, but just think about how they look. So it could be a well-lit sky with a Mickey cloud in it, or maybe it's a nice starry sky with some constellations. Or maybe it's even just a room with some eye-catching wallpaper and wall art. Just something that makes the background look cohesive and built up. Now, my next tip for you all is to treat every week as both an outfit and a decor challenge. So when I'm voting, I see this as a photo competition, because that's exactly what it says to do. When you come into the vote now menu, it will say vote for your favorite picture below. So when people are voting, even if they don't really take note of this, technically they are voting for pictures as a whole, sort of subconsciously, whether they realize it or not. If you have, for instance, an outfit challenge and you have two people wearing the same outfit, how do you make your choice between those two pictures? You do it based on the photo as a whole. So the items they've used in the background, the lighting and everything like that. So when people are voting for their favorite photo, just make sure that basically what you're providing to them is an all-encompassing picture. You want it to have both focus in terms of outfit, but also in decor. So, I mean, let's face it, you know, with the Wally's Garden challenge, or even with this Camp Dreamlight one, it would be weird to vote on a picture of someone wearing a ball gown, because let's face it, people don't go camping in ball gowns. It just wouldn't make sense. So you want your images to be cohesive, you want them to tell a story. Just consider the outfit and decor part as the challenge requirements for entry into this competition, and make sure that basically just everything matches, because otherwise that is a recipe for disaster. Now, my next tip pretty much ties in with tip 2, and that's to fill the frame. People don't like to see empty space. So if you decorate a corner in your valley or a room, use the photo mode which pulls in closer, or make sure you zoom in with the free mode option. So I'm going to go into photo mode here. We have selfie mode. Now, this obviously isn't always the best mode to use because people can't see your full outfit. A lot of aspects of the photo get cut off. So we're going to press V. We're going to come out into a different camera mode. And in here you can see, now we can see Minnie. Now we can see my full outfit. Now we can see more of the decor items, which is good. Let's go into free camera mode. Now, if I was to take a photo from this angle, this would not do as well as that second photo mode, because we have all this empty green space here at the bottom, round the sides. It's just not a very full photo, so our character isn't in focus. We lose a lot of the detail, and it's just a bit bland looking. It doesn't really showcase much. Whereas when we go into this second photo mode, the photo looks full. It looks complete. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more detail. So just make sure that anything that's in your image looks like a deliberate choice, a deliberate inclusion. So tied in with this as well, if you're taking a photo in a room, make sure you don't have that black void that you get when you zoom out, just because it doesn't add anything to the photo. It just detracts from it. So do make sure that you zoom in slightly. You're better off cutting out bits of your photo. You're better off cropping aspects of it rather than zooming out too much and gaining those empty kind of voidless spaces that don't add to the shot. Now, my next tip is actually to do with lighting. So you don't want your character or your subject in too much darkness, and likewise you don't want them to look too washed out. Even in dark theme photos, like for the Halloween challenges that we had, you can brighten up a scene using lamps or even a well-chosen filter. So you need your photo to draw in attention from the voting, and lighting's going to play a big part of that. Now, if you're in a sort of a daytime setting before the sun has set, you can actually manually go up to lights and interact with them to turn them on. So that's a good tip to use if you kind of are at that borderline stage where it's a bit dark but not quite dark enough for the lamps to come on themselves. Another thing to bear in mind, obviously, with the filters is that sometimes you can brighten up a filter too much, that you end up looking a bit washed out and you lose the colors. Like, for instance, this filter here I wouldn't recommend for like this daytime challenge, because all the colors have this kind of whitewashed look, which isn't great. But say, for instance, this challenge is great, this filter is great because it brightens up the scene, but it doesn't wash you out. So just be careful on which filters you choose. Like I said, they can add a bit of extra lighting to a photo, but they can also wash you out. So just make sure whichever filter you go for one that actually adds to the picture rather than takes away. And that will help you out a lot. You don't always have to use a filter. I've certainly submitted photos without filters. So again, that's another thing, sort of be deliberate in your choosing. You don't have to use a filter. Make sure if you are adding a filter, it's adding to your photo. Now, my next tip goes out to the companion lovers out there, and that is to stop obscuring your outfit or your face with companions. I cannot recommend enough, like, take a look at this shot. let's have a look at this. You can't see my face. You can't see half my outfit because I have this crocodile gnawing off my face. Like, it doesn't look very good. However, let's just angle this slightly, just ever so slightly. Now we're at a diagonal angle. And you can see my outfit. You can see the interaction with the crocodile. He's not blocking my face. So we can see my facial expressions. If I've done any makeup, you can also see that. So it just works a bit better. Now you might be concerned and thinking, well, Tanya, now look, we can see loads of your background where you can't like have anything in it and everything like that. It ruins the shot. Yes, it does. And that is why when we go to take a photo, we are going to take a photo from an angle. So you can see now I'm not facing well, I am facing directly forward, but I wasn't facing directly forward in conjunction to the house. I am facing diagonally from the house. But when I turn around and suddenly you can see my outfit and character, you also can see the house and the background setting. So it may be that whilst you want a kind of like front on view, you may have to angle your character slightly just so that you have that better viewpoint, so your outfit isn't obscured by the companions. This is one of the reasons why I don't really like Pua as a companion, because when you have Pua, you hold Pua in front of you, in front of your top area, which does obscure all that. So I personally don't really recommend Pua. At least if you're going to use Pua, have Pua running around on the floor, because otherwise they just block too much view. Sorry about that. It's just one of my little pet peeves, to be honest. So yeah, just make sure that the companion isn't blocking your outfit, isn't blocking your face. I was voting the other day, actually. I came across a submission, beautifully composed, well decorated, perfectly on theme. Every aspect of it was so good. And then they had like a bunny in their face and I couldn't see their character at all. And it just ruined it. And that was actually a submission that I then didn't vote on. And I voted for one with a worse composition, less filled out in terms of a photo, but it earned my vote because I could at least see the character and the outfit. So it helped the photo overall. Whereas the other one just looked a bit ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry to say it, it did. It just looked a bit ridiculous. So that's just my, you know, my thoughts on that. And also tied in with companions, make sure the companion you use actually fits the scene. Like, taking your parrot companion to like a dreamlight ball doesn't really make a lot of sense. But the pirate parrot companion does work in a pirate dream snap or even a trick or treat themed dream snap. So you can sort of use companions wisely. So yeah, just make sure they fit the theme. Now, my next tip is actually to do with tags. You're going to want to try to get them as high as possible. So in decor challenges, you can actually hide items behind other items. When it comes to the outfit challenges, I do like to manually go in and check the tabs. So if we come into the wardrobe here, what I would do is I would check each item individually. So I would go to shoes. Now, when you click this button at the top, it just brings to the top the ones that fit the requirements best. So not every shoe on here is actually gonna fit to the filters. So I don't bother using this. What I do is I go into filters, I manually select the tags, so we know Mickey and Friends was a tag, and I believe it was Simple was the other one. And then we go back and we know all these items here fit the Mickey and Friends and Simple tag. So that's just something worth bearing in mind when you are looking at these things. See, look, we come to Mickey and Friends and there's more options, but these don't have the simple tags, for instance, the red dress shoes and the black dress shoes. So that's something I like to check manually, and I do it with all the parts of my outfit. So I do it on shoes, I do it on socks, I do it on skirts, shorts, pants, whatever it may be. Just a little tip as well, when you wear a skirt, you can actually wear shorts underneath it. So my character's got this skirt on, and now I'm going to click shorts. Now I'm going to click one of the longer shorts just so that you can see it better without me doing like a upskirt shot. But actually you can layer these. So for instance, if I'm trying to get my tags up, if I'm wearing a skirt, I always check the shorts tags so I can make sure I add them underneath, and that will help build up my tags for that as well. But also another thing to bear in mind with the tags and clothing is that hairstyles can play a part in that. So why don't I go take a picture here? And we're going to press D to show the Dreamsnaps. Now, with this Dreamsnaps outfit that I've got on, this wasn't the one I used in my actual Dreamsnaps, but it's just like a composed outfit that I've got. The Mickey and Friends tag is 3 out of 3. Now, remember that, 3 out of 3. I'm wearing this ponytail hairstyle, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go into hairstyle. And I will wear this one. I wouldn't usually wear this one actually, because I feel like this is a curl pattern that my character would not have. So I tell you what, let's get this one instead, because this is actually the hairstyle that I did use in my dream snap. And then we're going to take another photo. And we'll press D to show Dreamsnaps. And look at that. Mickey and Friends, 4 out of 3. So consider switching up your hairstyles to maximize the tags, because some hairstyles will count. So it's always worth checking the hairstyle tag as well, because that may give you a little boost that you wouldn't otherwise have. Now, my last tip for Dreamsnaps is sometimes you can think a little bit too much outside of the box. Pop culture references don't always go down well because not every person will get the reference. Typically, you're better off making Disney themed references in this game rather than things external to it, like making references to anime and things like that, because there's going to be less of that shared knowledge, I would say. Likewise, deviating from the norms can lose votes. Thank you, Maui, for getting in the way here. Yeah, so I think sometimes people don't realize if something's on theme, even if it is. So I'm thinking specifically back to the villains challenge, and I noticed a lot of the higher scorers actually did Ursula themes, which is what was showcased in the banner for the challenge, so that makes sense. And I noticed that whilst it wasn't impossible, a lot of the other alternative villains struggled. So a lot of the people who did Cruella, who did Gaston like I did, or things like that, like the Queen of Hearts, some people did get 4,000 Moonstones. Huge congrats to them. But I did notice a large portion of people who did villains that weren't Ursula, like Scar for instance, struggled, even though their Dreamsnap used all of these tips that I'm talking about. Even though I saw Dreamsnaps that, you know, I knew the person had done high tags, but the person had, you know, just used a different villain, and, you know, I knew that they had their foreground, they had their background and everything like that. They still didn't do very well. So I think sometimes it can just be a bit of a risk. Now, those risks can sometimes pay off, but not always. So It just depends on if you want to make that choice. Like I said, when you do something a bit risky, it's harder to get the 4K. So that is one thing that I would say is try to stick to the norm. Try not to rock the boat too much. Obviously, you can do what you want at the end of the day. What I said as my first tip, which was to just ultimately have fun, create something that you like. But if you are struggling very often to get the higher Moonstone rewards, you know, the 1500, the 2500, or even the 4000 Moonstones, hopefully these tips will help you out a bit. Yeah, I want to see you all do well, you know, and hopefully this helps increase your odds of doing that. At the end of the day, I do just want to say as well, when it comes to the Moonstone rewards that we get from Dreamsnaps, it is done on a percentage. So I believe it's the top 5% of players get 4000 Moonstones. So realistically, when you look at that, that's a hard category to get into. The top 5% of all players. Like, if you're getting 1500 Moonstones, if you're getting 2500, you haven't done badly at all. That's like the top 10, 20, 30% or something. That's still a massive achievement when you think of how many people play this game. So don't be too disheartened. But hopefully these tips do help you out if you are struggling a bit. Feel free to join my Discord if you want. I don't tend to give a lot of unsolicited advice in there, but if you tag me, if you leave a comment just saying, hey, I've created this Dreamsnap, what do you guys recommend I can do to improve it? I'm sure myself and the rest of the community would happily give you feedback to help it out. I don't like giving unsolicited advice because at the end of the day, Dreamsnaps are your own creation. And sometimes you're happy with something and it's a bit rude to have someone say, oh, well, I'd change this and I'd change that. But if you do genuinely want advice or anything like that, please join my Discord. I'm willing to help out as much as I can. I usually post my own Dreamsnap like as soon as I've created it. In fact, I usually post several times because I usually show how I update it and change it. So you're welcome to kind of be there to go along the journey and everything. But yeah, fingers crossed this helps you out. If you did, don't forget to leave a little like and a comment if you have any other tips and recommendations. And big thank you to our channel members. You do mean the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for your continued support. But yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Bye!